Welcome back to Elevate Your Wealth. And today we'll be talking about what I actually do as a financial planner. I think lots of people may not really understand how a financial planner helps and what they actually do. So it's good for me to elaborate on that as much as I can. So, in terms of financial planning, there are a few steps we need to take. Okay. Some of them are legally required, some of them are just good process in terms of ensuring that people understand what we're doing. So generally, the first step I always do is a goal clarification meeting. Okay. And what this meeting involves is just sitting down with potential clients to find out what do you want to achieve? What are you trying to um, accomplish in life? What are you trying to do with your wealth? Who are you trying to help? And generally, when we sit down with those meetings, people will come up with, about 3 to 5 things which they want to accomplish. And um, 90% of the time, some of those things some of those things are conflicting. Okay, and a classic example is I want to make more money, I want to invest lots of money, but I also want to work less. That's just one of the conflicting ones we see. So what we then do after clarifying all these goals, because if the time frames for those goals overlap, then it's even a more it's a conflict that really needs to be addressed straight away. Okay. So with that, what we then have to do is prioritize the goals. Okay. So which one is more important to you? Is it actually working less or is making a lot more money? And with making a lot more money as well, it comes down to, okay, why do you want to make more money? Everyone wants to make a little bit more money, but what is that main reason? And sometimes when we drill down deeper into why people want to make a lot of money, it comes down to, either something to do with your past or something to prove, or they really want to take care of someone in the future, and generally maybe kids, family. So whatever that reason is for us to really understand and for you to articulate that, because some people then change that goal, especially if it's conflicting. Okay. So one of the things where we sit down and do is more of that soft skill of sitting down and understanding the goal and ensuring that this is the goal you want to achieve. And if it conflicts with something else, then changing that or prioritizing which one comes first. So after goal prioritization, then what we go into next is, okay, how do we achieve this goal? Okay. And a classic example would be, okay, when someone wants to buy a house, they want to buy the dream house. They might have a house, but now they want to actually buy a dream house and they need X amount saved for that. So our job is to how much can we put away consistently to actually get you to that goal? What investment should we put your money into? What is the time frame involved? Okay, how do we achieve this based on a realistic time frame and a realistic um, investment return as well? Another classic example of goal conflicting is people want to take as little risk, but they want to make as much money. So that is very difficult because you need to take some risk. And I'll talk about risk in detail as well later on. But, risk sometimes is not a bad thing. It just comes down to really the time frame and your perception of risk and, how we can actually manage that. So we'll then come up with steps as to how you can get to the goal, and we'll then help you action these steps. One of the reasons people end up not doing anything is, yes, they have this great goal. Yes, they might even know how to get there, but they end up not doing anything about it. So our job is to ensure things are done, and we'll do most of it for you. We'll set up the accounts. We'll ensure money is going in. We'll ensure we're having conversations with you as to how that goal is tracking. We would also ensure there's a team that can support you if you need one or two other things done. We'll connect you with other professionals who can help. So goal achievement is one of the things we is the main goal, or is the main reason for seeing an advisor, because there's something called the Hawthorne effect. A Hawthorne effect is when you behave differently because you know someone is watching. Okay. And once you know your advisor is going to be having conversations with you as to, okay, you wanted this goal and we agreed to do this, how we tracking towards it, what's going on, you tend to behave a lot more aligned with what we've discussed than if you actually just went and did that yourself. So those are the three aspects we kind of work in. So goal clarification, goal prioritization, and then goal achievement. Okay. So within that, there's certain other aspects or types of advice we can help clients with because they can come with different goals. So one of the classic ones I see that, I think everyone really needs to know this and consciously, not just I've heard this from someone, it's working for them. Um, it might work for me. I'm going to do it. Is money management. Okay, so money management is very important because that is the basis, is the best foundation for building wealth. Okay, if you cannot manage money, money comes and money is going to go easier than it comes. So, for money management, is where is your money coming from and where is your money going? Okay, so some people like to call it budgeting. We can refer to it as your spending plan because end of the day, the money is for you to spend. Okay, but if you have a disciplined approach and a sequence towards spending that money, you tend to enjoy life a lot better. You tend to have less worries as to okay, when is the next paycheck going to come? Uh, what I've seen with people is not how much you earn, but it's actually what you do with what you earn. Okay, so you can be earning a few $100,000 and still saving nothing, while a son is earning less than $100,000 and they are saving quite a bit and actually living a peaceful and worry less life. So money management is one. The other thing the other aspect we help clients with is investments. Okay, so investments can be for different reasons, and the reason is usually very important because the reason really determines the goals, the strategies we put in for you as a client. So one of the ones I really like helping clients with, and going back to the first episode where I spoke about one of my hobbies and what I care about is kids. So saving enough so you can help the next generation and doing this over a long period of time makes it so easy to do because it might just be as simple as putting $100 a month away for the next 20 years for kids, which is amazing because it's not a huge amount, but it's going to make a wealth of a difference to the kid. I also recently wrote, well, not recently. I wrote an article a few months ago about teaching kids to invest as well. I was very lucky. And look, I don't know if my dad did this consciously or subconsciously, or he had no idea what he was doing. I probably should ask him. But my first exposure to investments was him getting me to open checks which he was receiving. I was like, what's all these checks? Why is it so small in value? And I was like, and he said someone is actually giving him money because he gave them some money. I was like, oh, what's that? I think I was about 5 years old. Then I had no concept of investing. I actually did not know what it was, but I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But thinking backwards, that was my first exposure to investing. So while you can save for kids as well, you can bring them along the journey. And imagine teaching a 11-year-old to invest, and they see the progress that makes that investment has made over the next 10 years. So they're 21. All of a sudden, it's a no-brainer for them to actually invest. So you're actually teaching the kids that you can be really successful by investing, and you can have your money work a lot harder. So investing for kids is one of the things we help, and different ways we can actually invest for kids depending on the time frame, depending on how you want to actually manage that. Do you still want full control? Are you happy to pass that on at a certain age? Do you trust someone to hold the funds for the kids if you're not around? All those things are really important. And when we sit down with you, we really try to understand that before putting an investment plan in place. Um, so, the great ways to invest for kids is the educational bonds, is the investment growth bonds, the even normal investment accounts. But, all that really comes down to, okay, what's the goal? What do you think? Um, who do you think will take care of the kid? Do you need control? Those are important. Other investment goals really come down to other goals. Okay. So I've sat down with people who, they're investing now. So in 5 years' time, they can reduce the amount of time they spend at work. Okay. Other people are investing now so they can have a better lifestyle, in the next 5 years' time. Okay. They might want to travel a lot more then. They might want to have passive income. They might want to just feel financially free. That's a huge one as well. Because lots of people I sit down with who want financial freedom, It's a want and it's not generally a need, because even after we attain financial freedom with them, they still go on about working, about doing things, but they have peace of mind to doing it in a more deliberate way and not worried about the future. So that really comes down to lifestyle as well. Do you want to invest for lifestyle? Okay. All those are important. And investment also comes down to early retirement. In Australia, you can access your super usually 60 plus by the time you've met a condition of release. But before then, if you want to retire, how are you going to survive? So looking at investments can be a good way. Sometimes people think property is the only way, or use only property. There is an opportunity cost for using only property. I love property, and I think it's a good way to invest, but it has to be done in tandem with a good portfolio as well, because that gives you more benefit, or rather the most benefit. And you hear me mention this a few times as we go along, but one of the huge costs, or rather one of the huge things people miss with not getting advice, is the opportunity cost. So you're not actually paying anything, you're not losing money physically, but there's that huge opportunity cost. Because when I sit down with people in their 50s or 60s or even 40s, I'm like, well, if we set things up for you 10 years ago, you would have 50% more wealth, or sometimes even 100 times, or even 100% more wealth. And it's just because they didn't have the knowledge, they probably didn't have the time to set things up. So the earlier it's done, the better. The other category of advice we give is in terms of protection. So protection really comes down to, okay, ensuring that when things happen that are out of your control, you have a backup plan. And sometimes this backup plan is really essential, but people do not actually consider or sit down to think about this, which is fair, because I don't expect people to sit down and think, okay, well, if I pass, what happens? Or if I couldn't work. Most people are planning for a better life, not really planning for if the worst happens. However, you need to ensure there's a safety net in place. So in terms of protection, there are different types of protection we look at, and depending on your life stage, you would need some more than the others. The one that I'll say most people need that are working is income protection. And this protects your human capital, because your ability to pay the mortgage, your ability to pay for your car insurance, pay for your health insurance, is because you can work. If you can't work, all those are actually not taken care of. So we help with things like income protection, life insurance. Life insurance is very important, because if you have a loved one, if you have people that depend on you, you need life insurance just in case of the unfortunate happening. We have total and permanent disability as well. So that is to cover things that if that covers you when you're in a situation where you're totally or permanently disabled. There's nothing as frustrating as not being able to take care of your loved ones or yourself if you were to be in that situation as well. And we've helped people with claims on this side, so we really understand, the impact that has to them. And these are people that actually had, protection, or if they didn't have any protection. Another one is trauma. So trauma covers you for things like stroke, heart, heart, illnesses, and cancer, and it gives you a lump sum. So I'll give you a story about a client who I helped put some insurance in place and helped with the claim as well. And that just gives you an idea of what can happen. Business owners. So, in each business, there's a key person, and that key person can be you or it can be another person. And in that business, you need to cover for if that key person was to pass away or was to be disabled, because that would be really detrimental to the business. And if that's you, you need to look at those types of protection as well. Generally, for small business owners that have a partner involved, you need a buy-sell agreement, because you and your partner work perfectly fine. Well, hopefully, and with them in a situation where they are unable to work, what happens? You need to ensure there's a plan as to, okay, if one person can work, what happens to the person's ownership of the business, and how is that managed? Because For most business people, it is the partner's significant other that would inherit the shares of the business. And I'm pretty sure that might not be a situation you'd want to be in because they might not provide the same expertise which you are receiving from your current business partner. So that's something to definitely think and ensure you have in place. Uh, Another aspect we help with is superannuation accounts. So some people, when they think about superannuation accounts, they default to one of two ways. They default to either just the normal default superannuation accounts you have or SMSFs. Okay. So those are two different things and two different things we can help with. So in terms of your normal superannuation accounts, if you're not looking to, set up an SMSF, that's fine. It's not mandatory for you to set up one. But the things you can do with your normal superannuation accounts, and think about your Australian supers, your Colonial First States, your other platforms like Hop24 that can hold your super. The things you can do with your super at a young age or at whatever stage you are to ensure it's working as hard as it can for you. And all these things really depend on how much you have in there and what you actually want for retirement and how you want to have these funds invested. So I had a client come in recently and they wanted to exclude certain um, vices from their investments, and we were able to set that up for them. However, not all platforms can actually help you with such investments. Yes, they might have sustainable or they might have ethical investments on the platform, but what does that mean? How is that really invested? Do they still have exposure to weapons? Do they still have exposure to tobacco? All those are the things we can help with. And so that's on the personal super non-SMSF side. Look, we can help with superannuation account strategies. The other aspect is the self-managed super fund. So usually this is for people that want some sophistication in their investments and want some level of gearing or debt to actually maximize their superannuation accounts. So we provide advice and we can help you set that up so it's working in a tailored fashion for you and providing you with the necessary investments or options you need for the future. Not everyone, it doesn't suit everyone. So it's definitely something to be conscious about, because if Mr. Jones down the road is doing it, doesn't mean you should do it. So we help with that. And one of the big ones we help with as well is retirement. So lots of people come and they want to retire, and there's so many issues with retirement. And when I say issues, you need to think about longevity. The funds you have, how long will that last you? What can you actually take from the funds on a sustainable level? Because your superannuation account balance might be able to provide you $100,000 for your life expectancy. However, if you live past your life expectancy, what does that look like? We help you model this out to show you what it could look like and then provide the advice for you in that regard as well. Who should the funds go to if you were to pass? What kind of risk should you be taking in an investment at that stage in your life? Would help you and provide you with that support. Those are the things we do as a financial advisor. Retirement is a very tricky one as well, because I sit down with people, they're just above the age pension threshold for assets and they really want to get a pension. We can help them put in strategies with that as well. Or really, they really want to plan and ensure that they do not fall into that category. So, all this comes down to what your goal. Have we clarified that? Have we prioritized it? And, are you actually doing the most? Because sometimes it might be in your best interest to get some pension, even if you're, slightly above that threshold. And, sometimes what I've seen is some people have some negative connotation with actually getting the age pension. And from my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with getting the age pension. I obviously would prefer that you have enough assets and you're self-funded, but if you're within that threshold, I would really encourage you to get that, because that's just what you've paid for in taxes over the last few years. And if you're entitled to it, you should definitely apply and then get that. Further down, retirement planning is also aged care advice. So, what happens if you go to a retirement home? How should we ensure you get into a retirement home? Should you pay the RAD or the DAP? All those are things. And if you do not know about those things and you're close to age, or you would be needing aged care in the foreseeable future, in the short term, it's definitely something you should look at. But that's where we come in as well. So we give you advice as to, okay, what are your priorities if you go into an aged care facility? What do you want? What don't you want? How should you pay for that? Those are things we can help you with as well. And one of the final things we help with is estate planning. So, this really comes down to who you want to get your assets and why, and how should we structure them at that point in time. So we can definitely structure it in such a way that it goes to certain people, okay? Or you have ensured that it's evenly split. Sometimes estate planning is really important for when you have a business and maybe one of your children want to work in the business, the others don't want to work in the business. How do you actually ensure that your estate is split evenly amongst them? So that is something we definitely help with as well. So in terms of what I do, I put down a travel analogy so people really understand, because until you've gone through a financial planning process, people are like, well, I still don't get what you do. and I totally understand, because those clients that are clients have been clients for a long time for a reason, because they really understand how we help, and they've been without us, they've been with us, so they really get to see that picture. While it's people that haven't been with us, you're just going about life and probably wondering what is going on. Let's assume we're going from Sydney to Bali. So an efficient path to actually doing this, so planning your holiday, and think about that as having an advisor by your side, is you lock in dates with the family or friends, or you do it solo, whatever works for you. You book in your flights and then accommodation together. You take an Uber on the day, you take an Uber from your house to the airport. You go through check-in, you spend some time in the lounge if possible. You board your flights, hopefully business class, if not save some dollars, and then you can do that in the future. You land, you get your bags, you go to your resort, and you drop your bags and you run down for a cocktail. That's nice, efficient. You planned that, you know what was going to happen. So now this is what people do without financial advice. So this is an inefficient travel journey. You take an Uber to the airport. At the airport, then you're like, oh, I don't want to do this trip alone. Let's call a few friends. You call your friends and be like, hey, mate, do you want to go on a trip? And obviously they say no, because they cannot come to the airport with you at that point in time. And I don't know about your friends, but my friends are like herding cats. So we definitely need to plan well in advance. And you book a flight. So you wanted to go to Bali, but the only flight available is to Ubud. So you're like, yep, you take it, you go to Ubud. And you then go to Ubud and you pay premium, because obviously you're doing this late. Okay. You bought your flight, you land, and you try book a hotel. Okay. You go to several hotels, you're all booked out because it's busy season. As you're doing that as well, you call a few friends saying, look, the door is still open for them to come join you on this trip. And obviously they say no. And you finally get a hotel, which is not as nice, but you take it and then you drop your bags, you go get a cocktail, and you then go do yoga, because most people go to Ubud for yoga. And then you think you got there at the end. That is an example of an inefficient way to travel. And that's what most people end up doing with their finances without help. Advice ensures you book your hotel before you get there and you've really thought about if you like yoga or not. Just to summarize, the soft part of it is the goal clarification, goal prioritization, and steps to achieve the goal. And then how we do that at the different areas of advice: super, investment, money, money management, and retirement, estate planning, and in general, just financial planning. So some people want to know, okay, a day in my world, what does that look like? So I like to get up early, and generally when I get up early, it comes down to what has been lined up in my day. So if I have meetings all day, I'll probably go to the gym early so I can get that done and dusted. If I don't have meetings all day, I like actually going to gym midday towards end of the day so I get a second boost. But let's assume I go early to work. Generally, I'm at work at probably about 6 a.m., 6:30. It's just the way I like it. There isn't. I don't have kids yet to run around and keep me busy, and I'm sure I wouldn't be able to do that then. So let me take as much advantage as I can now. And when I get in at that point in time, it's very quiet, which is good. So I can do lots of analysis. So what one thing we do for clients is just running models, running numbers for them to show them what things can look like and really ensure that they can get to that goal. We run different scenarios as well. They might want to see what things look like for at this if they take this path, and that may be scenario A, scenario B, or scenario C. What does that look like? What is the wealth involved? What is the cash flow involved? What are the taxes they will be paying? We can run these scenarios for them, which really is very informative because they can make a better decision. Going back to someone that may want a better lifestyle in 5 years, what does that look like if you save now and spend the money in 5 years versus if you actually just spend a smaller amount now and save a little bit more? What does that look like? People love seeing those numbers and it gives them a lot more clarity. In the morning as well, I may read a few complex ideas or a few complex articles that I'm trying to work on, and or I will develop different strategies for clients, because the thing with financial planning, lots of strategies together can mean complexity, even if the strategies are simple. Okay, so I do all that in the morning, and pretty much at about 9, 10, that's when calls start coming in, or I start making calls, and calls from clients or calls from business associates to just clarify information, or want reports on their clients, or clients wanting reports for themselves, just depending on what's going on then. And or business associates just clarifying if I can help a client, or what does that look like if I can help a client, and then me articulating that to them, or even just referrals from other clients as well. Usually those will be the time when people call. And then generally I'll have client meetings, and I'll have, depending on the day, 1 to 4 client meetings. And those client meetings range from half an hour to about 2 hours. I think my longest client meeting, and kudos to them because they're like, "Yep, let's keep going," was actually 4 hours. So yeah, kudos to them for engaging and wanting to really finish things, because 4 hours to sit down through lots of strategy talk and options is not easy. So yeah, longest one has been 4 hours, but usually I'll say from about 9 to about 4 might be meetings, might be team meetings, client meetings, or business meetings. What happens after then? So I guess is a good part to just talk about client meetings as well. So client meetings will be goal discovery meetings where we want to understand the goal. Strategy meetings as well. We'll talk about different strategies we can put in place, and goal implementation meetings. So this is when we're doing the application forms, ensuring that we've set up things for success or for that goal achievement. And generally for, I'd say about 7% of our clients, they come on an ongoing service where we see them every year, because an ongoing service is not needed for everyone. However, for some complex strategies, we do need to see you every year to ensure you're on track. And one thing, as I said earlier on, people's goals pivot or the change over time, because we might have a discussion, they might go think about things and say, well, actually, I don't want that goal. Let's move that one up and let's focus on that one for now. And one thing I've started doing with my clients as well is I try to have dinner with them from time to time. And not all my clients are in Sydney. So to the ones in different states, sometimes I do a road trip, and then I'll actually catch up with them as well. Because at the end of the day, we want to build a good relationship with our clients where they feel comfortable, I feel comfortable with them as well, and we can really help them to achieve those goals. So that's just something I've started to implement. Most of them love it. Some of them do not want to have dinner, which is totally fine. And same thing with just the business associates and other people we work with. And I'll say, yep. So if that was dinner time, I might have dinner with clients or friends or family, whoever I can do that with. I'll try to sneak someone, or rather get someone to jump in. After that as well, I do work late, and it's just a personal choice because when I'm off, usually during Christmas, I am off, not in the country. So within the first 9 months in January, working a lot. So back to the office, and at that point in time, it's just going through some admin work that has to be done. And I also like writing. So usually I would write in the morning or in the late evenings as well. That is essentially a rundown of my day, how I help clients. That's who I am. That's what I do. Hopefully, my travel analogy gives you perspective as to how you're doing your wealth now and how you can do your wealth with an advisor.